next generation testing. Science and social studies are created by a company called AIR, A-I-R, American Institute of Research. Here's the thing, Ohio's been contracting with them since the proficiency test, so they're not a new organization, okay? They're not a new organization, but I can help you with what it looks like, what you need to be teaching, what you can save till after. There's two pieces to it, and I'll get to that. So, is this happening? It's all happening now. It's this year.
So this is
But they're not taking. Yeah. Oh, okay.
The science is not park. Science is AIR. A-I-R.
But aren't they taking the science park this year?
No, there is no
Oh,
science.
There is no science park. Park is language, arts, and math, and that's across the country. Ohio, you have local control over science and social
Social
studies.
studies is there.
So AIR, A-I-R, is social studies. So all my little pieces will show up here. But the overall vision for these assessments is fidelity of the standards. Are the standards being covered? So the standards are being checked through these. But what questions worth answering? I see all my little notes didn't show up. They're not just fact-based, can you read a paragraph and pick out the answer any longer. Science very much used to be that, okay? And it is not that anymore. It's experiments worth doing, and better standards demand better. So we have better standards. It used to be that science, all of them, you taught a little about everything. I always said, my standards went like this, and I went, got it. Now your standards go like this, and it's going like this, and I got it, and I'm coming back to it, and I'm over and over and over it. They're deeper now with more understanding for your kids. It's no longer checking it off. And this is a mindset change, because regardless of how long you've been teaching, this is how you were trained. You've got to cover the standards, okay? So you still got to cover the standards, but you have more leeway to make it, believe it or not, you have more leeway to make it more fun now. You honestly do. There's more room in there if you have time for it. So, if you can give science more than 20 minutes at the end of your day when you're also packing up backpacks and getting ready to go out to the bus, you have more fun stuff to fill in there. So I don't know how much time you're giving to science, but you got to bargain for more. You have to bargain for more. So the state's perspective on these is, the standards, the kids know the stuff, the kids know the content. Can they apply it to a new situation and critically think about it? Okay, so it's this cognitive demands of the kids. It is no longer a fact-based test. And science was very much a reading test. And how did they do value added for science? How did the kids do in 3rd grade and 4th grade on the reading and the math test gives you value added for how they do on the science test in 5th grade. They are that linked together on the current OAA. Okay? And if you go back through your 5th grade kiddos, the ones that won't pass are the ones that didn't pass reading and didn't pass math. They are intrinsically linked together. And I could see it in my own data. Darn it, he didn't pass the reading. I don't even need to look at the science because he's not going to pass that one either. Okay? So they're changing that model. They're changing the model. The park is changing that model up, and they're saying that scores are going down for districts. Okay? Districts that have been performing in the tip-top tier are now going to fall down into the 2nd tier. So districts that are performing in the bottom are going to be even further in the bottom. And unfortunately, I know, and it's heartbreaking, isn't it? Because you can work your tail off, and it's heartbreaking. I'm not going to throw politics in there, but that gap is going to get bigger, okay? The gap between the haves and the have-nots is going to be bigger on these park assessments, and on the AIR assessment as well, because your haves have had access to this technology and how to take these tests, and your have-nots have not, obviously, okay? And so that gap is going to get bigger, unfortunately. And even in high-performing districts, we're panicked, too, about what this is going to look. Because we're a destination district where people move to our neighborhood so they can go to our schools, and all of a sudden we're getting B's. Nobody's going to come. Good, we're too crowded anyway. So we have a levy on to build a new school because we're so stinking crowded. But so the state, they have legislation they have to follow. And they want to up the ante and up the rigor because the United States never does well on those high school-based tests that they take across the whole world. We always fall way down. So how can we fix this? Apparently with these assessments. So here's what the year looks like. So it sounds like we might not even be familiar with this. So the state offers these diagnostic and mid-year assessments. They have a package you can buy, or you can use STAR. This is where that falls in right here. You can use Dibbles, you can use Ames Web, you can use Iowa tests, any kind of other measure your district does in the fall falls here. Okay, I don't even know what your district uses. That all falls here. Those are screener measures. They can also be used to show growth. So your district gets a big data report from that, they plunk it into EMIS. It can show growth from here to there. Here's what the state provides. Performance-based assessment and an end-of-year assessment. March, April, or May. The window is open up until May. Okay? This piece, when this first came out, we thought, I'm not going to stand there and grade 130 kids while they do a science experiment and then I'm going to enter this data. Well, the state took that piece away. Performance-based is now the electronic virtual labs. Okay? So this piece is where your kids are going to be manipulating variables in a situation in science and social studies and language arts and math. Okay? The park and the air align with this performance-based assessment. Then you have your end of the year assessments. And this is more your short answers and your essays and applying what you know. So this summer when I sat on this committee, we trained the computer how to grade essays. We trained a computer how to read what students write and decide if it's right or wrong. It is no longer a person doing that. So
Is it looking for keywords or?
no, it looks for phrases. Because we even said, well, can't the kid just put the target vocab in random order and get credit?
Yeah.
No, we trained it to look for phrases. And my job was to say, yes, that is fifth grade speak for that phrase. This is how a fifth grader would say this. So we looked at hundreds and hundreds of the pilot questions that the kids took. We looked at their answers. And the computer would score it, and we'd go, we disagree with what the computer said. There it is, right there. That's how a fifth grader would answer that. So we trained this computer how to do it. And I'm sure there's going to be bumps in the road, but they're not going to tell you that the computer goofed. You know? They're going to say, this is how it's scored. So training your kids on that piece is harder. I mean, you can tell them to put the key vocab in because the key vocab certainly comes up. You know, pull the vocab out of the question, just like we've been teaching them, for language arts especially. You know, restate that question and put it in there in science as well. Now, so, but yeah, it's an interesting. So there's also this speaking and listening piece that's coming in language arts as well. So here's the testing windows. Your district chooses when this happens, but they have a timeline of when they can put it in. So February to March, the PDA is performance-based for science and social studies. Here's the park over here for language arts and math. Okay, the state's calling them PDAs, performance-based assessment. It can happen anytime between February 16th and March 16th. For that, your district will decide that window. Probably already should have. Here's high school. Did you know that 10th graders have to sit 15 times for required assessments this year? Yeah. They're required to take the OGT and the new. 15 times.
What grade was that, please?
Grade 10.
That's my son.
10th graders have to sit 15 times for state required assessments.
15. Doesn't it bump years of
Yeah. Plus, a lot of them are taking that practice SAT and practice
Sure.
ECT, and you know,
Sure.
there's other
Oh, my son said that.
personal pressures they put on themselves.
Yeah.
You know, for that as well. So then finally down here, this is the end of the year piece. And the end of the year for science and social studies is this first 2 weeks of May. So, you know, your district has a choice to line them all up the same 2-week window or to space them out and have these two happening in April and these two happening in May. So your district, that should be on your testing calendar. You need to find that out. Like for us, we go to camp in 6th grade in February, so we're like, oh, where do we go? So that's why we forced our building to make that decision because of camp. So your building doesn't have to have it yet, but they should. Okay? So this piece over here you're familiar with. So ELA is park, math is park, science is air, 5th and 8th grade, physical science in high school, and biology in high school have the 2 state assessments, and then social studies is grade 4 and grade 6, and then there's a final exam in American history and American government, all written by this AIR company, without any Ohio teachers sitting on that panel, just saying.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the sample questions.
There, yeah. So, some of what it looks like, students begin to design a terrarium with all the parts required for a healthy ecosystem. First of all, do your students know what a terrarium is? Okay? The common life form system that we use is aquarium. Okay? You need to build terrariums. Boss has you building a terrarium if you're following the kit in 3rd grade, but you might want to build one in 5th grade as well. Okay, this is a 5th grade question.
Fifth grade has it in the book, but it's not part of the class, but we did it.
We build ours too.
Good, excellent. So your kids need to know what a terrarium is. Over and over and over again, the word terrarium comes up. Over and over again.
But put it in like 18.
I'm telling you, terrarium,
36 months.
aquarium does not come up.
Yeah.
They pick pond ecosystems, they pick river ecosystems, prairie ecosystems, terrariums. Aquarium does not come up. Because I don't know if they're trying to trick you or what, but terrarium is the one they use. Because it has all, you know, you can set up an aquarium without any plant life in it, and the fish will still live. A terrarium, you have to have all the different parts of the ecosystem in order for it to function. So, have you ever seen the picture of the guy with the oldest terrarium? Your frog tanks, you can make them a terrarium.
Yeah, it's a vivarium we were told.
You can make them a terrarium, but what's on the bottom of it right now?
Water and
Clay pellets.
Yeah, pellets.
Bio
balls.
To make it easy to clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's a vivarium and not a terrarium. The terrarium is a permanent structure on the bottom, like dirt, rocks, soil, moss, something that's more
Well, it
permanent.
has moss,
We have moss,
but
on
then we
top
have
of
water too. Like it goes down, slopes down
plants
to
in
the
there?
water.
Is it self-sustaining?
I had crickets.
Terrariums are
We
self-sustaining.
had fruit flies, so
So
no.
no, that's why that must be the vivarium. So terrariums are self-sustaining. So look what the kids have to do. Identify at least 3 non-living parts needed for the terrarium and explain why each one is necessary. Does this say anything about the animals or plants they're putting in there? No. So, What do you think they are?
A container,
A container,
water,
water,
and dirt.
Soil.
Air.
light source. Some light source,
What are the
either
animals?
by a window or by a link is the 3rd one that they're looking for. And this one drove me crazy. So, I'm going to tell you this. There's parts of it that I'm legally allowed to tell you and parts I'm not legally allowed to tell you. I had to sign a disclosure that I would not share distinct details, like to the point of losing my license about this test. Like signing my life away. But a light source. Think about your food webs, food chains. The sun is always in there.
Right.
The sun is always in there. That was my big thing. I was always like, here comes the sun. You know, you just sit for 60 hours with ODE. You start going crazy. But yeah, so they need a container. The kids always forget the container. The sample ones we were looking at, they forgot the container. You need something to set it up in. So they need a container, they need water, and they need some kind of soil and or light source are the big ones. So here's another one. This one happens to be an 8th grade one. But look at here, there's a paragraph about it. And then here's the diagram that they have to look at. The question then would populate over here about it. We don't need to go through this one because it's 8th grade, but it's about the geological and fossil records. So here's the question that pops up. The hypothesis states that the landmass broke up during the Jurassic period. Identify a geological process that could have caused the breakup of the landmass. Cite evidence from the geological columns to support your answer. So do you see how they have to know, first of all, what the geological record is? They have to know the Jurassic period and what happened. And they have to be able to read this diagram and cite evidence from the Jurassic period as to why and what happened. So do you see the complexity of these questions? There are some at the 5th grade level that are this complex, but this one happens to be at 8th grade level.
A lot of students are like that and just
And
give up on the
this-
reading.
June, thank you very much. This little essay right here is being graded by a computer. Just filling in. Better to know than to not know. So here's one, street test. So this is currently a 6th grade topic, but it used to fall on the 5th grade test because of the 3rd grade. standards.
Fourth grade does it now.
Fourth grade does it now. So, a science class is asked to determine the identity of mineral X by completing a combination of tests. The tests are described in the notebook. Here's his notebook down here at the bottom. Here's the notebook. Use the simulation tool to identify mineral X by performing the fewest possible tests.
Oh my gosh, this was just on the sample one in here.
Yeah.
Didn't
We're
work on
doing
the
a sample
iPad.
already. We're going to get to that.
Well, it didn't work on the iPad. I
No.
couldn't do anything. It kept going blank every
I
time I
So-
can't
did it.
get it to open.
Here's
This is
the
what it
thing
was.
about these. The kids could spend an hour testing this mineral. It doesn't stop them. It doesn't direct them what to test. It doesn't say, whoops, you've spent too long on this. You might want to stop.
Next.
So this is a new test-taking skill. Get in there, test two variables, and move on. Okay? So you have to teach them how to test variables. It does say perform the most informative test first, which would be the streak test. This one's already pre-populated for it. You would be able to pick this, and then it would drop acid on it. You would pick the pressure test, and it would do it. You'd scratch it.
Oh, that's why mine kept going blank.
Yeah.
Oh my.
This is pre-populated with what the simulation actually looks like, and it drags the mineral across for you to see. Then there are other questions. Here's the notebook, properties you've noticed. Okay, so the state just released 2 weeks ago the sample questions. So why don't we go through and look at them, because we're gonna flip out pretty much. I hate to say it. I shouldn't say there weren't Ohio teachers sitting on it. There were Ohio teachers sitting on it. So the state site looks like this once you're in. So let's see if you can get in. Did I link it on the? Did I link it on the agenda? How'd you find it? Is this where you went?
I just typed, well, I was looking for social studies.
It's in the
I
same
just
spot.
typed in air and,
If you Google air and ODE, it comes up with the
and I
same
did
thing.
sample questions.
Yeah.
Enter this site. Yeah, click on enter this site.
I'm going to as soon as everybody gets the address. So yeah, if you click on this site to go in, if you just Google AIR and demo and ODE at the same time, this will pop up. Okay, when you're in, you have to kind of say who you are. You can enter it all as a guess. Here's the same mineral one that we were just looking at.
Yeah.
And this one. Here's the test to try over here. Here's the notebook. Notice that they have to scroll up and down and click in different windows to see things.
And this will read it aloud too?
Yes,
It will.
it's a test specification that your test administrator has to turn on or off. It's a simple toggle of a button. And unfortunately, it's either everybody gets it or nobody gets it, so they end up turning it on for everybody. Yep, it will read it aloud to them. The kids can zoom in and out. The kids can, make it bigger and smaller and do all of those pieces.
Do we have to teach the kids though how to use those accommodations?
Well, it's as simple as them just pushing a speaker on there, but
Okay,
yes,
so
you'll
they'll
just
get
show
it.
them
Okay.
where it is.
Okay.
But here's what we found with kids. Our worries about technology are not their worries about technology. My husband sat there in service in his district yesterday, and they're talking about, oh, the kids don't know how to drag and drop. Really? The kids know how to drag and drop. And they're worried about typing. I'm like, really? The kids know how to hunt and peck and type. They're good.
Yeah.
Especially if you turn the keyboard up so they can use their thumbs. But, so our worries as adults for the technology side of this are not worries for the kids. And kids are not afraid of it. They'll get in and play and mess around. They're not afraid to break it. Whereas we're like, oh, don't push something and mess it up. What did you touch? Yeah, kids are not.
Can they go back to question?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Because no one seems to be able to answer that for me.
From what I have seen, yes, they can. From my little experience with ODE, yes.
Okay, so we don't even have microscopes, but we're going to show the kids how to do a virtual microscope.
Okay, so here's my big thing with these virtual tests. Your have-nots have never seen a microscope. Okay? They don't know how a microscope works. They don't know you put a slide on there. They don't know you turn the objectives to adjust the magnification. They don't have a clue. Okay? So while the state thinks this is normalizing it, they're going to give you this common experience, then you're going to answer these questions on it. If your kids haven't played with it, they don't know. Okay? So one of them is sticking a temperature probe into the coat of a pocket, and then a light is shined on that coat so that you can see that light has heat. Well, the kids are like, what's that thing they put in the pocket? Well, that's a temperature probe. Okay, and the state thinks, whoa, we're being all techie, but nobody's seen them. Where's the thermometer? Where's the yellow plastic thermometer that I hand my kids to put in there? Okay? So their thought with these virtual simulations is that it normalizes and gives everyone a common experience. But it's frustrating for kids if they don't. Now they'll play with it just like you are. But you mentioned, Janet, that they've never seen a microscope before. These are 6th grade topics that you're seeing, 6th grade science topics. So let's go to the Ohio one and hopefully get to the 5th grade topics. Okay, you're going to want to click over here on this one, Ohio Computer-Based Assessment Portal. Click on the left. You can direct your students and parents to do this as well.
And I think this is what Michelle sent out.
This is what Michelle did send out for your administrators.
Oh, you
Yeah.
I like to go in as the students and families set. You can go in either place. It'll all get you to the same one. And you're going to click on the bike. The resources tells you how to take the test, technology specifications, how to do drag and drop, how to do typing, those kind of things. So you're going to click here.
Putting more than 7 up there so that you can practice more.
Yes. So in this one, where am I? I'm also on the wrong side. So here there are 7 on here. There are 14 in the end of year 1.
But, I mean, that's all that they're gonna have up there.
Yes, and this is all the state is releasing. This is all the state is releasing. And they are also there for social studies. The social studies ones are just as interactive. I found some of the social studies ones to be really hard. They got to compare parts of the state, economic situations in parts of the state, take that information and funnel it down, apply what they know to these application kind of, the social study one was challenging.
Do you suggest looking at end of the year before
Well,
the PBA, or should you wait till after the PBA and then start the end of the year?
no, I would look at them both
At the same
prior.
Okay.
I would look both prior.
I don't know if you can address this, but, without losing your license, but could they potentially have these exact same questions?
No,
Okay. Okay.
no.
But you're getting the idea of.
You might have the same simulation, but different questions on the simulation.
Okay,
Yes. But the exact, like this, no.
okay. But
This
we
exact
might need
thing.
to work on that microscope.
Yes. But also what I found was the same food webs were used for multiple questions.
Okay.
So you might see this exact food web, but it might have different questions. Or they also tried very hard to do different styles of food webs and food chains. So this is one way of making a food web. Okay? This one has 17 released questions on it. So between the 17 here and the 7 on the other one, you have a full practice test, just like you would have with the prior released ones. So just to flip through so you can see.
This is the end of the year
This
one?
is the end of the year one. You'll notice more multiple choice ones. They want it to go faster, shorter. It'll have more questions on it. I mean, some of these are standard, like with the old ones, but look down here. 2 statements. So these look more like the old OAA. I'm just showing you that. All right, now see? Put the fall and the spring into, okay? So they have tried to find multiple ways to show you the earth in these situations. You can drag. Look, you can drag the same one. You can delete. This is what my husband's sister was like, the kids don't know how to drag and drop. They know how to drag and drop. That's not, you gotta click on it and then click delete. So you can do that. So that's one thing. Select an object to move or remove, okay? Table shows, now here's the data. Season A, here's the
I'm
data.
not the only one sitting here.
It's the same picture.
You gotta read the data.
No, but it
Before you
is.
click
Season
and
A and Season B are the same picture.
It's the identical
As are those two, yeah.
As are these. It's the, it's not even the tilt. Oh, you're
It's
right.
the data you have to look at.
Yeah, you gotta look at the data to know which one's spring and
Because
which one's
they're
fall.
not tilted. You have to figure out where the tilt is by looking
Well,
at the
the
data.
tilt is always going to be the same. It just has to do with where
You're right,
it
those
is around
pictures
the
are
sun.
exactly the same.
Someone was copying and pasting to get done early.
But it's, you
But
gotta
if you
get the
tilted it,
word.
you wouldn't have to look at the data.
You have to get
If
the
the
words
picture was-
season A and season B in the right
If
one.
the picture was tilted, you wouldn't have to use the data.
Good point.
You better contact your friends there, Eric, because there's an issue here.
No, I can see why they did it.
They want you to look at the
You
data.
have to look at the data. If the world
Before
was
you can
tilted,
do
you
that.
wouldn't have to look at the data. You have to look at the data and say, how would the earth tilt using that data?
But isn't it already tilted?
It's already tilted, but you gotta know season.
But the diagram is really skewed then, I think.
Okay, so you bring up a good question, making the teachers take this just for giggles. This is a FOSS one that's, you already have. I'm just randomly changing things. This is what you don't want your kids to do.
They were killing the fish on purpose.
Green fish were eaten by the red fish. That meant it
Because
didn't have enough
You don't have enough
food.
food.
Yeah.
Okay, so look dead.
Oh,
They die.
what's that stuff?
Food.
Oh, oh.
Okay, so teaching your kids how to actually get something out of these is a skill.
Yeah.
Okay, because they want to play and they want to kill the fish, but how to get the science out of them is hard to do. So that's a session all in itself.
Well, you
Yeah.
have to have some set questions and.
Virtual.
There's
Oh,
questions
that's
that,
aquarium.
I'm going to this around the back side of it. Oh, my fish survived. I went around the back side. I didn't go through FOSS to get this.
I
So
didn't either,
if you
no.
go through FOSS, like through your coded linked in, there are some questions. You can also Google these and get these without going through FOSS, so that you can give them to your kids on their computer.